battle lines have been drawn. All of you remember last week, the DA issued an ultimatum to the ANC, specifically to President Cyril Ramaphosa, to which the ANC basically said, go kick rocks, we don't care. The DA then made a promise that they will support no budgets or departmental budgets from ministers that they consider to be corrupt, which basically would mean every single minister from the ANC. But never mind that, right? The DA also said that they will withdraw from the national dialogue, but no one cares about that because it was useless to begin with. Well, it turns out that we're in that battle now. And the first one to be attacked is Nkabane, the Minister of Education. And she resorted to just the age-old adage of racism and misogyny is at the heart of these attacks against her proposed budget. Just want to say a huge thank you to all of the supporters and patrons of this channel. By becoming a member or a patron, you help support the news that we bring and also allow me to do even more in the future. So huge shout out to all of you. Thank you. Anyways, enjoy the video. Bye. Now, the minister herself is very much an accused of corruption. Last year, the minister told Parliament that an independent board selected members of the board for the Sector Education and Training Authority, or SETA, after a lot of scrutiny on the board members, because one of the board members was the son of ANC National Chairperson Gwedi Mantashe. And of course, as you can imagine, a lot of people immediately went, wait, what? Like, why? What is it? What exactly qualifies this dude to be on that board? The minister then denied that she had anything to do with the selection and that instead the selection was handled by an independent panel and that was, all above board. Upon further questioning and Parliament pushing back even more, the minister denied and refused to name the independent board. It wasn't until President Ramaphosa told her, hey, tell us who the hell was this independent board, that she came out and said, well, it was led by Advocate Terry Matto, SC, who chaired the panel, and he denied this. He said, wait, what? I had nothing to do with this. What are you talking about? Right? And that's sort of where we are leading up to this budget debate. Now, the debate itself comes amidst a lot of questions within the budget, where a lot of the funds, as you can imagine, when it comes to corrupt politicians, you have to look at those budgets and really scrutinize every single line within the budget. Because if someone is willing to appoint friends of friends and someone is willing to engage in nepotism, they're more than willing to allocate funds to places where it does not belong. We see so much evidence of corruption within our country, and oftentimes this corruption isn't obvious from the first. Take just very quickly stories like this, where you have the Ekurhuleni department or the Ekurhuleni municipality paying 327,000 Rand for toilet paper to an ANC-owned company. That's right, the Ekurhuleni treasurer, Selo Sekoku, literally owns this company, right? So that's sort of where, when it comes to budgets, you have to look so incredibly carefully at these corrupt ministers, because there will be lines in that budget that you don't immediately think is a problem. Like, for example, budgeting for toilet paper. Well, okay, yeah, kids do need toilet paper at school, except who is that money actually going for, and how much money are we paying for these rolls of toilet paper? Because this actually comes out to about 9,000 Rand per roll. Like, that's insane. Like, I know toilet paper has gotten expensive. I just went and bought some yesterday, but it was 9,000 Rand per roll. The ANC is sort of role-playing Zimbabwe levels of inflation here, right? So that's sort of what you have to look for in these incredibly corrupt ministers. The DA then goes on to absolutely trash this minister. Remember, this is an ANC minister. The DA is supposed to be part of the government of national unity. And that's why I said it is crumbling. And right now, I think where we are, both the ANC and the DA are effectively trying to get the other one to kick them out of the GNU. The ANC wants the DA to leave, and the DA wants the ANC to kick them out. So you have, for example, the one of the speakers, Mrs. Jean or Johnny Adrianse, that said, it is time for President Ramaphosa to fire Minister Nkabane and clean out the ANC's criminal network from the heart of government. The DA will not allow Parliament to be treated with contempt, and we will not tolerate corruption disguised as governance. It's important to understand Minister Nkabane is currently facing charges laid by the DA for lying to Parliament, which is, by the way, a criminal offense. You're not allowed to do that. And then she says, this scandal is not isolated. It underscores a pattern of corruption and reckless governance that must be rooted out. The minister's actions demonstrate a blatant disregard for honesty, transparency, and accountability, traits that South Africans deserve to have in a minister. I will just say, if you're a politician, you probably have none of those traits, period. The ANC just has those traits in minus, but no minister actually has those traits. But okay, so a lot of people go on and sort of give their, as you can imagine, their statements, because most of these statements are completely empty. They don't mean anything. They're not going to amount to anything, but they're meant for the public. The public is meant to read these so that you can see where your politicians actually stand. It's basically just a glorified way of grandstanding. Now, enter the ANC. So the ANC raises almost no points of order on any of this, and the EFF actually joins the DA in attacking and scandalizing the ANC. Not that the EFF is actually good or actually, on the side of good, but the EFF would never miss an opportunity to trash the ANC, as quickly as they can. It's really when you get to Minister Nkabane or Nkabane that it gets so annoying, because every single time these ANC ministers are actually sort of in the crosshairs and being taken to task, the first thing they do is blame race, right? So you just hate me because I'm black. Or they blame a sort of reluctance to transform, where the minister, and this was her thoughts, those who are rejecting the budget are rejecting the transformation of the post-school education and training sector in South Africa, of course, speaking out against Bantu education. 30 years later, apparently that's still a problem. Of course, if you actually go by the record, you will see that whoever destroyed the education department was not the apartheid government, because it is the ANC that oversaw the continuous. In 2008, for example, we had the first ever lowering of the pass rate. Then we had in 2012 an automatic adage of marks, so students would actually get between 5 and 10% automatically before they even go into the into their matric exams. And then you had a further lowering of the pass mark. So it is the ANC that has overseen the complete crash of the education system, but never mind that. They are rejecting the budget of Nobuhle Nkabane, and this is not a budget of Nobuhle Nkabane. It is a budget of the people of South Africa. No, it is not. They are rejecting you because you are corrupt. Therefore, we can't trust the budget that you've laid in front of Parliament, because you have a history of lying to Parliament. When you are against transformation, it irritates a lot when you see a young woman leading such a huge ministry in your presence. She's not young. She's 45 years old. This has nothing to do with women. In fact, two of the people that attacked her, actually three of the people that attacked her, because the EFF one was also a woman, are women, right? So this has nothing to do with women. This has nothing to do with race, because the EFF person was obviously black. This has to do quite straightforwardly with corruption. Our country is being bled dry by corrupt ministers who seem to think that the party will just never end. They seem to think that they can continuously just skim off the top, take a little bit, and nothing will happen. Well, this works in a lot of governments around the world. Corruption isn't the be-all, end-all of countries. Every country has corruption. The difference is that in most countries, it's largely contained, with corruption being very small. And you have things like nepotism, for example, but usually the people who are being nepotized tend to be at least decent at what they do, even though they're not the best necessarily for the job. They're decent at what they do. In South Africa, the problem here is that corruption has completely gotten out of control. We have a government that just steals, just outright, 9,000 rand for a roll of toilet paper. We're no longer in the world where a company might add an extra 20 or 30 or 100,000 rand to their quote, because, hey, friends help friends. No, we're in a world now where a company adds 200 million rand to their quote. And if you have 10, 20, 30 companies doing that, you're very quickly depleting the resources of a country that already doesn't have that many resources to go around. Remember, less than 8% of the whole of South Africa actually pays taxes. So these are the people that are keeping this incredibly corrupt system just churning along. And at some point, you're going to run out of people, especially when you have President Trump taking a lot of those people away. You have a lot of these people that have the means that are already immigrating out of the country. Eventually, you're going to run out of people to tax. And when that happens, the country comes to a standstill very, very quickly. It's super important that you understand this. No one is against transformation in spirit. Every single person in this country would love to see a country where all 60 million people are able to contribute to the economy, gain from the economy, and actually live a good and decent life. If you're a business owner, what's better, having 1 million people capable of buying from you or having 60 million people capable of buying from you? Obviously, 60 is more than one. So no one wants no transformation. The problem is that the transformation that the ANC continuously pushes doesn't actually transform anything. What we're seeing is a continuous depletion of the South African population. What we're seeing is continuously people getting poorer and poorer. We're seeing services degrading further and further. We're seeing education falling lower and lower. This is not transformation. This is not something that people want. And we do get upset and angry when you keep going on about transformation and yet you steal our money in order to give to your friends. That is the issue. But that's just my 2 cents on the matter. Let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about this entire thing. Do you think the GNU can actually survive this? I'd love to read your thoughts. As always, hit the like if you liked, the dislike if you didn't, and I'll see all of you in the next one. Peace.